one thing stands out of that is there's a different analysis now of hitting and stats and the role that specific players play in baseball because of an advanced analytics now being weighted and weighed more. I think the old traditional way is, he didn't have 3,000 hits, didn't have 500 home runs, wasn't this, wasn't that. I think it's kind of gone by the wayside, and people have drilled down more into the advanced stats, WAR, and ways that we didn't used to measure guys before. And so a guy like Tim Raines gets in. Now a guy like Edgar Martinez gets in. And I think that's good. I think it's good when now we are more evolved, we are more sophisticated, we have more tools at our discretion, and are finding the values in guys perhaps we didn't used to find value in. And Edgar Martinez, I think, was one of those guys. But the other thing that I think happened on his way to Cooperstown was the stigma of just being a DH finally went away. And I always thought this was the stupidest thing. Well, he's got to play the field. He's only a DH. He's only got a limited role. That would be a fine argument to keep Edgar Martinez and Harold Baines out of the Hall of Fame. Harold Baines is a bit of a different discussion because I think Harold Baines is a weird one to put in. I mean, Baines, his numbers were dwarfed by Edgar Martinez's accomplishments, and nobody really believes Harold Baines really deserved into Cooperstown. But Baines was primarily a DH as well. But I always didn't understand the DH stigma keeping guys out of the Hall of Fame, specifically like Edgar Martinez, because we put closers in. I mean, a DH doesn't have any more limited of a role than a closer does. Mariano Rivera, for all of his greatness, and nobody would ever deny that he was a Hall of Famer, routinely got 3 outs a game. And not every day. He was supposed to come in for 1/2 of an inning. He did not have to hit in the bottom half of the inning or the other half of the inning. Nobody would ever argue that Mariano Rivera was a Hall of Famer, and the guy had less of an impact, you could argue, than Edgar Martinez. I mean, he comes in for 3 batters often. And granted, this is at the end of the game, high leverage situations sometimes. Got to close things out, and you're on the mound when your team wins. But that's the element that I think is different, and just really from a conceptual standpoint. Edgar Martinez could get 4 at-bats in the game, 5 at-bats in the game, hit a home run, a double, a single, drive in 5. He had way more of an impact. Way more.
Now, wait a minute.
Than Mo. But I think because Mo comes in at the end of a game and is standing there when the team wins, it's almost like, well, they won because of him. He is now connected to the moment that you win the game. It's like if a DH always was at the plate when you won the game, maybe it would be conceptually different. But once we started putting in closers like Raleigh Fingers and Dennis Eckersley, and Eckersley was a starter, John Smoltz was a starter, those guys converted to closers. But once we put guys that were just primarily closers in for their closer career, keeping DHs out to me was utterly stupid.